online for this week. It is so good to have you joining us. That's a big truck. It is so good to have you joining us this week. Hey, in case you haven't heard, you are officially invited to join us each week on a Sunday morning at the 8:45 service. Each week we meet, we eat food, we hang out, and we read the Bible together, and we catch up and everything like that. A bunch of you have already been coming along while we've been splitting into those groups, the red, yellow, blue, and green. But now those groups have been completely dissolved, and instead we're all meeting together every Sunday. So you're invited to come every single Sunday for the rest of this term now. If you or your family don't yet feel too comfortable coming along to a church service, that is totally fine. I so want to respect that. So just so you know, we will still be doing all the online content over on our church website and with these youth online videos. So that will still be happening for the rest of the term. So if you're uncomfortable coming still, that's totally fine. But I do really want to encourage you to come because it is a lot of fun. And yeah, we really, really do enjoy every single Sunday morning. Me, Anna, and Caitlin, the leaders, we enjoy connecting with you young people and just seeing how you're going and talking about Jesus with you guys. So make sure you come along if you can. Well, over the last few weeks, we have been looking at how we read the Bible in a way that leaves space for God to be speaking to us through it. We looked at how important context and genre are, and over the last 2 weeks, we've been looking at different genres in the Bible, and that's what we're going to continue doing today as well. Today, we're going to be looking at what is called the prophetic or prophecy in the Bible. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But before we do that, I want to read a passage for us, okay? And then I have a bit of a challenge or a question for you. So, let me read this passage. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested it? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Now, it's a pretty sad passage talking about Jesus and the sacrifice that he made for us. But I have a bit of a challenge for you. Now, look, you might recognize this as the Bar Bar Do Bar Bar passage that Colin Buchanan makes into a song, but he didn't make this up. This is a passage from the Bible. And what I want you to do is I want you to make an educated guess. What do you think the context of this passage is? Do you think it was written before Jesus died on the cross? Or do you think it was written after Jesus died on the cross? Feel free to hit pause on this, but I'll give you 5 seconds to try and figure out. Do you reckon it was written before Jesus or after Jesus died on the cross? All right, well, I'm keen to hear what you guys said, but if you said that it was written after Jesus died on the cross, then you are actually wrong. I know it's a bit of a prank. This was written before Jesus died on the cross, believe it or not. It was actually written centuries before Jesus was even born. It's tricky because it says so much about Jesus. It says how he took the punishment for our sins, how he was pierced for our transgressions and sins. And this is the reality of prophecy that we're looking at today. These are books that were written before Jesus but tell us so much about Jesus anyway. All throughout the Bible is what we call prophecy. And the prophetic books are words from God that were given to certain people so they could be written down and be used to instruct God's people and foretell what was to come in the future. It's kind of cool because in a bunch of these passages we see God telling his people about things that haven't even happened yet. I mean, there's a whole bunch of prophetic books in the Bible: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Hosea, Joel, Amos, and so many more. And when we read these prophetic books, it's so important that we know that they were written to warn and instruct a very specific group of people living in the past on specific issues that they were facing or that they were about to face. So us in the 21st century, we shouldn't be reading them literally for what's going on for us today. We shouldn't be reading them going, oh, that tells me that this year this is going to happen. That they're not there for us in that way. Instead, when we read them, we should interpret them through the fulfillment of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. You see, when we read the prophetic books in the Bible, we need to read them through the lens of what Jesus has already done for us and for all of God's people throughout human history. You might remember that sometimes when reading the Gospels, it'll say something like, Jesus did this to fulfill what was said in the law and the prophets and blah, blah, blah. Like it might say something like that. Well, these books, the prophetic books, are those books that it's talking about. When the prophet wrote those books, they had so much to say about who Jesus would be and all that he was going to do. And now we, as people on the other side of Jesus' ministry on earth, we can see how Jesus actually really did fulfill what those prophets were saying centuries before he even was alive on earth. As people on the other side of Jesus, we can see how the prophet's words are fulfilled in his life by reading the Gospels, which we're going to look at a little bit more next week. So our passage today, which is the one that I just read, is Isaiah 53, verse 3 to 9. So what I want you to do is I want you to read it for yourself in your own Bible, maybe read it a few times to get it fully in your head. And as you read, be praying and asking God, what are you saying to me from this passage? Maybe you can even try and figure out what was God saying to the original people that the prophetic books were written for, and then try and figure out how is what you were saying to those people, how is that fulfilled in the life of Jesus? Anyway, let me know how you go in the comment box below. I love every week just checking my emails and seeing all the things that you guys have sent through by typing it in that comment box. So let me know what you get out of this. Maybe let me know what you feel like God is saying to you. Also, do remember that you can come every single week for the rest of the term now to our Sunday morning youth group. Make sure you register before you come so that we know that you're actually coming and so that we can have enough food and everything like that. But otherwise, I will catch you guys next week for our next Youth Online video. Peace. Have a good one.